Once an industrial powerhouse, South Bend, Indiana has found itself yet another victim of the Rust Belt. With the decline of manufacturing, this Goliath is now littered with decaying buildings, rich with history. One of these structures decaying right along one of South Bend's busiest streets is the Wilson Brothers Shirt Factory, from its founding over a century and a half ago to a fire that destroyed a man's career. This is The Wilson Brothers Shirt Company found its start in Cincinnati in 1864 by the four Wilson brothers, John, Crane, Hugh, and Milton. The company would relocate to Chicago only 4 years later. With an eye for development, the brothers expanded on October 8, 1883, into South Bend, Indiana. Although the factory started on the second floor of a post office, this would only last till 1887. With the market for men's apparel on the rise, Wilson purchased land from one J.D. Oliver under the condition that within 10 years, the factory would employ 1,000 women. This newly constructed factory housed 12.5 acres of floor space, which in addition to other newly built factories around the country, allowed Wilson to vastly expand their product line. Furthermore, menswear was transitioning from custom clothing to mass-produced items, a recipe which would prove successful for the company. So successful that by 1929, the company had well surpassed J.D. Oliver's original condition of 1,000 women, with a total of 2,200 employees, and 92% of them being women. These women were hired because sewing was traditionally viewed as women's work, but due to the fact that they were women, they were paid lower wages than the men. The employees were paid by piece, as the company had developed a new tagging system which traced each product back to the individual. With these state-of-the-art developments, high-quality Singer sewing machines, the factory could produce 72,000 shirts in the span of an 8.5-hour workday. By 1948, the company had $434,838 in net income, and $16.5 million in sales. Further expansion would follow on August 15th of the same year, when Wilson purchased the Enro Shirt Company for an undisclosed price. Although Enro would only run as a subsidiary, Enro would take on a bulk of the South Bend facility's production, which would now only produce pajamas and bathrobes. While the factory did keep running, it would be forced to close its doors in 1975. The factory would go on to be used as storage for numerous years, with notable owner Bill Onkesaurus and his son Remington owning the building since 2007. The two would use the structure as a warehouse by renting out space to companies, but the 2008 recession made it difficult to continue operations, which was exemplified in 2012 when lightning struck the factory and caused a 40-square-foot section of the southwest roof to collapse. To further add salt to the wound, many scrappers would break in and steal wire and metal. Seeing the disrepair the old Wilson factory was in, Onkesaurus decided it was time for the building to go, but not in the traditional way. Instead of tearing it down, the structure would be deconstructed and its materials reused. Many of these materials were no longer produced, including wooden beams carved from 100-year-old trees. The 2015 project would be led by South End Reclaimed of North Carolina. Of the numerous resources the company would save, most notable were the handmade bricks that had been discontinued decades prior. Coincidentally, these bricks were also used in the construction of many of the oldest Notre Dame University buildings. The university purchased tens of thousands of these bricks for their future maintenance needs. In the end, Onkesaurus stated he actually would get most of his money back from the project, while also providing numerous jobs. While some good came from the Wilson factory, tragedy struck on July 26, 2019.
South Bend, the fire tore through the building, taking down the roof and leaving a pile of rubble.
A fire raged through the FunFX warehouse, another part of the Wilson factory. FunFX, owned by Victor Cow of Cow Enterprises, was a merchant of costumes, masks, theater makeup, magic supplies, and other related materials. On this day, A filmmaker was setting up a movie shoot in the building's basement when he saw smoke. Fortunately, everyone managed to escape. While no one was injured, the aftermath would leave the biggest scars. Cow, who never imagined a fire happening, was not fully insured. Even after a court battle with the company, they never paid. Fun Effects would permanently close, while Victor Cow lost his business. He would go on to become an Indiana adjuster, working to help others who have experienced major losses. As of March 20th, 2023, most of the Wilson Brothers shirt factory has been demolished, leaving only the burnt easternmost structure owned by Cow. But unknown to us, the Wilson factory continues to be used. Behind the empty lot, one of the former structures continues to be used by Wern's Supply Company. We actually spoke with one of the employees who stated that the water tower that once sat atop the Wilson building had recently been purchased by a private collector. And as of now, that is where the Wilson factory history comes to an end. The Wilson Brothers Shirt Company building last saw operations in the 70s, but its tale still lingers into the 2020s. Whether it be the unique deconstruction of the building or the tragic tale of a man who lost it all, the building is one of South Bend's most recognizable abandoned structures. Thank you for watching, and good night.